Hello and welcome to this week's reading vlog. I'm Chanel and these are the books that I've read this week. So I have already read one book and that was this book right here, which is All the Better to See You. This is a middle grade children's book. So this is the cover. I think the cover is stunning. It's a rose petal finished, or other words, a soft touch matte. So it's got that beautiful velvety feel and I think it's gorgeous. So my daughter got this in one of her book box subscriptions and it's a retelling of Little Red Riding Hood. Now, I would say this is older middle grade. There are descriptions of on-screen violence as well as sort of medical body horror gore. So people have been severely injured. They're talking in detail about like the flesh wounds and stitching them together and that kind of thing. And there's also a little bit of romance in here. So I would say it's older middle grade. This book had 3 POVs. You've got Red, you've got a boy named Alice and another girl named Sabine. Alice and Sabine's POVs were completely superfluous. You did not need to know them to be able to understand the book. They were really, I didn't see the point. They seemed pointless to me, especially Sabine, who was just a mean girl that wanted to be sort of an apothecary / surgeon. I was waiting for like the reveal at the end, like, oh, this is why we had to know all of their POVs. There was none. There was none. So once again, Alice, the boy, and Sabine, the mean girl, did not need their own POVs. Unnecessary. Red's was interesting. The twist, I kind of saw it coming. I was incredibly surprised that when other characters in the book learned the truth, that they were just so accepting of it. I was like, really? Is this smelling a bit like trauma bonding? It is, because I don't think in other circumstances you would have reacted that way. So I don't know. I don't agree with how it ended. Bad things were done. And you might say it's in the nature, you know, of the beast. But I'm like, oh, still, people are dead. Human beings are dead. People have been mauled. People have been disfigured. I don't know. So yeah, it was okay. If I was going to rate it, it would be a 3. Is it entertaining? Yeah, it's a very fast, quick read. It's fast paced. It's very simple language. But for me, I didn't quite agree with how it went. This one was okay, but the cover is stunning, so beautiful cover. So I thought today that I would do a 24-hour readathon, not in one go, because my children are going to the dads for 4 whole days. 4 days. Very exciting for moi. I'm probably going to stay home the entire time. To be honest with you, I'm going to use that time to rest and recharge. I know normally you'd be like, go out, you're kid free, but yeah, no, I'm going to take care of myself because I'm feeling I'm very water retention-y and lethargic and I'm feeling blech, so I'm going to really take care of myself. But I am going out today to see one of my besties for brunch, so I'm going to do that. Go to the library because I know there's books waiting for me there, and then yeah, probably just chill out, just go for walks and potter about the house. I'm going to declutter a lot of the stuff while the kids are gone. But yeah, I thought I would do a little 24-hour readathon, read as much as I can. So I have already been reading for, I've already been reading for an hour and a half this morning. So in that time, I read this middle grade graphic novel called Go With The Flow, which is about getting your period. And the illustrations were all done in sort of red tones. I liked the art style. The story was fast paced. The girls were cute. They had a great friendship. The only gripe that I had with it was that they very much heavily sort of push the tampons. I think that's an American thing. In Australia, we don't really go for tampons when we've just gotten our first period at like 12 years of age. We use pads or we use now menstrual underwear. So with the tampons, right at the end, one girl just mentions, have you heard about toxic shock syndrome? And then that's it. And I felt like, well, if you're going to be talking about tampons, then you really do need to say what toxic shock syndrome is. Something that was really heavily drilled into us because unfortunately a girl at my school collapsed at a swimming carnival event and she ended up passing away from toxic shock syndrome. So we were very much told, you need to change them. Do not leave them in for, this period of time. You start feeling these symptoms, immediately remove it, go to the hospital. So I feel like you do need to actually talk about it if you're going to be talking about using tampons. In the story, one of the girls is trying to advocate for the school to actually stock their pad supplies or tampon supplies in the bathroom and to not charge for them. You have to pay for them because they're all empty, so the girls don't have access to sanitary supplies. When I was young, we didn't have those either, but in Australia these days, the girls do have access to free pads in all the bathrooms, which I think is amazing. That blew my mind. I don't know if it's like that in America now, or maybe it still isn't, but in Australia at least, kids in schools can get pads from the bathroom. So, but yeah, the book was fun. It was great. I would probably rate it a 4 out of 5 stars. Like I said, I just wish they'd actually talked about toxic shock syndrome and some of the issues with tampons, but they did not. So that was that book. And then I started Lessons in Chemistry because I'm going to a book club this week at my library, and that is the book of choice. So far, I am really enjoying it. I like the writing style. I like the characters that I've been introduced to, and it's interesting to me. It's not too chemistry, physics heavy to the point where it's dry. I will say though, there is a lot of shock factor stuff in this. So there are multiple sexual assaults, and then there's on-page rape that was quite full on and sickening. And I just felt like it was unnecessary to have it be that on page and that descriptive. I don't really know what it's trying to add other than shock value. And then something else happens later on, besides repeated sexual assaults, obviously, to something else happens that was very shocking, very sudden. I felt like I'd been punched in the gut. And then I was like, okay, maybe this author is one of those authors that likes to just have shock values. Like that's one of their techniques. They like to do something shocking and confronting. So we'll see how the rest of the book plays out. But it's so bizarre to have those moments because the rest of it just has this great look. It does definitely feel like a TV show. And I know it's been made into a TV show, and I can see how it very much easily could be because it's got that kind of vibe, like I'm watching it, so to speak. But yeah, there are these shock value moments, and I'm on page. So I don't know. I don't feel like this book needed that, but we'll see. I don't know what kind of book this is. That's what I mean. I'm like, is this actually going to be a dark book? Like a heavy trigger warning, content warning book? Or is it meant to be more like entertaining? I don't know. Because when I picked it up, I thought it was like a rom-com. But it's not. It's not. At the moment, anyway. I think I'm like 80 pages in. So we'll see how we go. I'm looking forward to continuing to pick that up. And obviously I will finish it today since I'm trying to read as much as possible. But I'm trying to keep these vlogs shorter. I'm trying to keep them all under 20 minutes. So I will see you when I get back. Hello, I am back from the cafe, but scratches. And it was a lovely cafe. It was very pretty. It was very busy, but it was a beautiful day today. And the food was good. So I would go back there if I was in that area. But it was nice to catch up with my bestie and to have a chat. I've almost lost my voice. I have such a weak voice. An hour and a half of chatting and then it's gone. I visited the library and I've picked up the Sprite and the Garner, which is actually something I requested that they get. So this is a graphic novel. So I'll definitely be reading this at some point. I don't know, my darling Sophie, she misses me when I go. And I picked up this one too. It's called Aphrodite's Breath, a memoir, a mother and daughter's Greek island adventure. So I was just feeling the island vibes. I'm an island boy. And so I'll be reading those and I'll let you know how they go. I think I'm going to go lay out in the sun because the sun is shining, and like a lizard I must go and sun myself to warm up. But we'll see how we go. I did read another 15 minutes of Lessons in Chemistry. There were definitely more things adding shock value. Like this one was a really gross old guy masturbating onto some dirty mags. And I'm like, okay, so this is what the author's like. Every now and again, she's going to throw something really vulgar or violent or grotesque in just to, shock you. But it's also heavy on the grief. So something happens in this and I'm just it's really hitting me in the feels, and I'm really sad about it. I'm really sad. So the bits about that grief are really heavy and got to me. There's also a lot to do with motherhood as well and just being a woman in the world. But I am enjoying it overall. So I'll touch base with you later. Okay, so I'm actually up to page 127. And I just wanted to add that you also get their dog's POV, and their dog's name is 6:30. I'm pretty sure 6:30. Yeah. Because that's what time they decided to adopt him, 6:30. So he's a cutie. Hey guys, so Blue. I have finished reading it. Okay, like if I'm just going to rate the book on my enjoyment, it would be a 4.5 star. But I do feel like there are a lot of things in this book that are problematic. and that a lot of people might take issue with. The thing I love the most about it was the romance. I really believed it. It was heartwarming and tragic and heartbreaking, and it had me. The romance was everything for me, and I adored that part of it. I love the mother-daughter relationship between her and her child. I love the found family that she accumulates along the way. Their dog is the greatest. He is the cutest little critter in all the lands. So I did like that. This book does continually change POVs. So it goes into multiple characters' point of views, but it didn't bother me. It was done in a very seamless way that didn't irk me whatsoever. I did like the writing. The main character, Elizabeth, she's, I was going to say, she's not that endearing, I guess. She can come off as a bit pretentious. To call sodium chloride instead of just salt. I don't know, like, I guess maybe it's supposed to be quirky and cute, but yeah, to call vinegar by its chemical name, compound name, I don't know, that was a bit much. You know, it was a bit over the top with that kind of thing. And she does seem to be an expert in multiple fields of science, which, I don't know, most of the time you do specialize, and that would make sense that she's specialized in that area, but then she uses physics to become an excellent rower. And like, yeah, maybe you can in theory, but I don't know. It was just a bit over the top, making her like a special snowflake in terms of she can do all kinds of types of chemistry and sciences, and so to speak. So she was also quite harsh and blunt and direct, and I'm not sure if that really would have resulted in her show being a success. Like, the whole success of the show, I was like, okay, the feminist aspects, yes, maybe women would really resonate with her calling out the patriarchal bullshit. I do agree with that. Maybe she does make delicious food, yes, but otherwise, like, the heavy use of the scientific jargon or terminology, I don't believe would be a huge hit or success. So I don't know, there was some on the nose things. My daughter learned to read early. She was interested in reading, was reading and writing at 3.5 years of age. Was she reading Russian authors and complex literature? No. She was reading picture books and writing her name and little stories. I don't honestly believe that a 4-year-old would be able to not only read, but understand complex literature. I think that's a bit farcical. It's a bit far-fetched, you know? But so there were some elements that were just over the top. And I've read the Goodreads reviews and other people calling out some other sort of racial stuff. It seems to be quite polarizing. A lot of people calling out also to the use of graphic violence, multiple sexual assaults, rape. That was quite confronting. At times it did feel a bit shock value-y. Like the gratuitousness of it felt like it was for almost entertainment factor. I feel like it still would have had the same strength were it not written on page, like for instance, the rape. I don't think it needed to be that in your face. We all know that women get sexually assaulted and raped, and it happens quite frequently, and it can happen in the workplace, and it can happen more than one time. But yeah, it was just, some of it just felt a bit shock value-y, you know? But I still, at the end of the day, I enjoyed the read. I was invested. I wanted to see how it played out and what happened to these people. I really loved Calvin. And yeah, there was the grief. Like I said, the grief was the really strong emotion that I had in this one. And it did have me choking up, as well as all of the obviously injustices, especially against women, and the sexism. You know, I felt it. So yeah, I'm going to give it, I don't know, like I said, there were problematic elements, but I don't know, sometimes you just sort of like, sometimes they really upset you, and sometimes I notice them, but I'm like, I can like put it aside and still enjoy the book, and that was the case with this one. So I'm going to give it a 4.25. I am going to deduct a quarter mark for the over-the-top issues or the not well done commentary on racism and things like that. So I did enjoy it. So this is my book for, I haven't even stopped. I don't even know how long I've gone. I've got to check my timer. I forgot to stop my timer. I'll have to stop it after this. This is my book for book club. It'll be interesting to see what other people think about it. I'll be interested to see too what they talk about it. Like if anyone brings up the on-page repeated sexual assaults or rape. I don't know what book clubs are like. If people can talk about more taboo topics, we shall see. And I'll have to read the room before I decide to give my personal review on it. But yeah, like even though I don't really like Elizabeth's character, she's probably one of my least favorite characters in the book. There were so many other wonderful characters in there that it didn't matter that I didn't really warm to her, so to speak. But I really enjoy that. 4.25. So I am going to do a workout now, and then I'll probably read in bed. But I don't know how much reading I'm probably going to get done today. I think tomorrow is going to be my major reading day. I am going to have to head back to the library again, probably on Tuesday, because I can see that a lot of books have come in. So I want to pick those up. But yeah, the next 2 books I will read to will probably be Sprite and the Gardener, and then Aphrodite's Breath. And then I'm also going to listen to Assistant to the Villain. I think that is an audiobook because I want to be able to do some chores and things. You know, they do come in handy when doing readathons. When you want to do things other than just sit there and read, you can still do your housework and cook your stuff meals. But I'll touch base with you guys later once I've read something else. Okie dokie smoky. So I have read for 4 hours and 7 minutes now. And I finished reading this book here, The Sprite and the Gardener. I'll show you some of the imagery. So the book is in a lot of, I guess, orange and purple tones would be the main colour scheme in this one. And it's about some garden sprites and how they used to help humans in the garden, but they stopped. But then there's a little sprite named Wisteria, and she decides that she wants to help the humans garden again. It's, I guess you'd call it a cozy little fantasy book. It's no stakes whatsoever. It's just a sprite making some flowers grow and helping a human gardener who isn't very good at gardening. I'm not going to rate it. I think if I was going to rate it, I'd probably give it a 3.5. You know, it's fine, but there's nothing really special for me. I also started listening to The Assistant to the Villain. I have listened to 30 minutes of it. It's obviously a romance. I've realized very quickly, oh, this is a romance, because the villain is a very attractive man, a very pretty boy. So far, it seems like a good time, seems like a bit of fun. We'll see how we go with it. Like I said, I put it on when I do some cleaning and things like that. But I think the next book I will start will be Aphrodite's Breath. I might not touch base with you tonight because it's evening now, and I might just wait until the morning to update you. We'll see how we go. But yeah, see you then. So I'm 1 hour into this audiobook. Firstly, this chick is perving so bad on this guy. Like, she cannot help herself. She needs to take a cold shower. I'm like, he's your boss now. Like, rein it in, girl. What is it with men in a lot of books smelling like clove and whiskey? I get that a lot. And I'm like, do they? Is that man smell? Heaty spices and alcohol. Okay. But for me, at this point, she's fascinated and fixated on his tight leather pants, like a toiga, and I just can't help myself. And now I'm picturing him as David Damiano in leather pants, and I'm like, oh, well, I'm gonna like this book a little more now. I don't know if anybody else is like this, but if they describe one of the main characters as looking like someone that I find attractive in real life, and then I start picturing them as that, it does improve my enjoyment of the book. So that's happening. I'm here with Willow. Say hi, Willow. Hello, darling. She's such a munchkin. I love her so much. She's still with us. Still haven't found a family for her, so we're still trucking along. So I have read 50 pages of, I'll move my legs out of the way, of Aphrodite's Breath, about a 60-something-year-old woman and her 85-year-old mum going to live in Greece for a year. I think they've gone to Kythera, which is supposed to be, Aphrodite's birthplace. And things, it turns out that the way the Greeks have worded some things about the house are not what they were expecting. So it's definitely very heavy on the atmosphere and life on an island in Greece. But I am enjoying the writing. She's so adorbs. And I'll continue on. I think touch base, but I'm getting a bit of a headache finding, so I think I might go and do some stuff, get ready for bed, and I'll switch to my Kobo for bedtime because I don't like holding up books and I don't like lying in bed just listening in the dark. It's so weird. So I'll be reading something. I'll let you know what I read once I'm in bed. Okay, so I have been reading for 5 hours and 10 minutes. I know this is probably not the most flattering light and I've got an oily face. I am going to read a lady's guide to scandal. I think it is. I'll put the cover up here anyway, so I'll touch base with you once I've read a decent amount. Okay, so I've read about 50 pages. Excuse me if it looks like I've been crying. When I lie down on my side, my eyes tear up for some reason. So in this book, you've got a 27-year-old widow. So at 17, she was married off to a 42-year-old, and 10 years into their marriage, he died. They did not have children. And it turns out that his nephew is a man that she was in love with before she married the old dude. The old guy left her a large portion of his estate that would make her incredibly rich, with the one stipulation that she not do anything improper. So obviously his other relatives are like dying for her to mess up so that they can claim, you know, the properties and the money. But the nephew who she had once been in love with and who'd once asked her to marry him seems to sort of be on her side, but so far they're not really speaking to each other. They're being very formal and it's sort of breaking her heart because she's still in love with him after all these years. But she's decided to go with her cousin to the city of Bath and paint. So that's where we're at. Okay, so basically the Earl, the guy that she was in love with before she married his old uncle, and that's what happened. He was in love with her, he asked her to marry him, and then her family said, you need to marry the rich old uncle. It's better for us. And she chose the rich old uncle because she wanted to help her family. So she broke his heart and he left and joined the Navy. So he's decided to come to Bath, where she's currently staying. The thing is, there is a rakish duke and his outlandish sister who are currently trying to, you know, familiarize themselves with her and her cousin. I love her cousin Margaret, by the way. She's a spitfire and she's awesome. And so basically she seems to have two male suitors. And I'm sensing a bit of a sapphic vibe between Margaret and Melvy's sister. I'm sensing a little bit of a sapphic vibe, so we shall see. But it's pretty funny. It's pretty fast-paced and yeah, I'm enjoying it so far. Good morning. It's currently 7:30 in the morning. I did stay up late to do some more reading and I've now read for a total, I think, of around 7.5 hours. So last night I did finish Lady's Guide to Scandal. This is a love triangle romance between the late husband's nephew, whom she had a romance with before marrying his richer uncle, and the rakish cad Lord Melvy. So I, to be honest with you, would have preferred she picked neither of them. None of those romances did anything for me. And I was actually hoping, she was just going to do her own thing, be a rich lady boss bitch and just hang out with her absolutely amazing cousin. Lady Margaret was by far my favourite character in this entire book. There was a sapphic romance that at least was a bit nice. But otherwise, yeah, I didn't want her to be with any of the dudes. So the other plot line in this is her finding her own agency and stepping into her own in regards to her artwork. So becoming a painter and not being afraid to show her work and actually believing in herself. So I would rate this a 3 stars. It's a 3, like it was fine, but you know, I was looking for a Regency romance and I didn't like the romance part. So, but otherwise, yeah, the characters were fine. Like the ladies were cool and you know, I didn't hate it. So that was that one. When I get out of bed, I will continue with Aphrodite's Breath. In the meantime, I will pick up another book. I'll put a picture here of what it actually is. I haven't actually looked at my Kobo to see what's on there, but I will read that while I'm in bed. And there's a good chance that I'm going to be staying in bed for quite a long time because I have nothing to do and nowhere to be. I haven't been trading much this entire month. This is going to be my biggest reading month ever. And that's because it was rollover. So when futures roll over the contracts, the markets are extremely volatile, so I tend not to trade 2 weeks going into that and 1 week after. I like to see it settle and then read the charts. So yeah, I've had a lot of time to read because also, as you know, I have not only not been going on dates, I haven't chatted to anybody online for I think 10 weeks now. So big dating hiatus, it's just not happening. But I'll see you later when I've read something. Okay, so I've listened to 3 hours of Assistant to the Villain. I am going to DNF it. It's just so silly. So basically you've got this chick and she is working for this evil guy who kills people. And he's so hot and dreamy and he has such thick thighs, guys. It's all about the thighs. So yeah, it's just a romance book, basically. There's like no other plot that's interesting at all, and it's just too silly. So I'm going to DNF that, and because I'm walking, the only other audiobook I can quickly grab is Pride and Prejudice. So I'm going to start that. Okay, I'm back from my walk, all sweaty. And let me show you what I picked up from the library. So I've been reading for about 11 and a half hours, something like that at this point. So I picked up this book. This is called The Strange Case of the Alchemist's Daughter. I picked up this one. This is called A Skinful of Shadows. It's a very pretty cover, very autumnal. Everything All at Once, Death at the Belvedere. But yeah, I've obviously been listening to Pride and Prejudice on my walk. It's okay. I used to love it when I was a teenager, so much that I bought my own copy. I was very much into the classics at that point. It's a bit dull at the moment, but we'll see how it goes. Hello, there's Sophie in the back. So I've been reading for about 15 and a half hours now. I've almost finished Pride and Prejudice. I'm not enjoying it, to be honest. And I finished Aphrodite's Breath. So this one is pretty much about a relationship between an 8-year-old mother and her 60-something-year-old daughter and their time spent in Kythera, an island in Greece. It is definitely not glamorized. It is the reality of living on a small, not very modernized island in Greece during all of the seasons. And I'm really surprised that 2 people who don't speak any Greek would go and live on a Greek island for a year. I feel like if you're going to go live in a foreign country, have at least a rudimentary understanding of the language before you go. But no, they didn't do that. They just went there not speaking the language, assuming people would speak English. They did not really. The mother does leave towards the end, but then at the end of the book, there is a sort of chapter written from the mother's point of view. What am I going to rate this? 3.25. It was interesting to read about life on the island and obviously the mother and the daughter's dynamic, but it was a bit long for me, and I guess I'm not at that time in my life, so I couldn't really resonate with being in that 60 or 80-year-old phase of life. It was nice. I think a lot of people would really like it. It's just not my cup of tea, but yeah, that was that book, and I'll let you know when I've read anything else. Hello. So I have been reading now for 19 hours and 10 minutes. I finished Pride and Prejudice, and it was a bit boring. I'm not going to rate it because in the past, like, I loved it so much that I bought the book. But today I just found it all just full of chitter chatter, and there wasn't like, I didn't like the romance. It's so weird to reread it and just be like, this isn't doing anything for me. It's not very entertaining. I'm finding it dull. So that was interesting. And then I read Solita. So the cover was very cool. This promised Gothic dark romance. Where was the romance, bruh? Show me where it is. I can't see it. It was just, it gave me bad Wattpad vibes. It was just not good. I've given it 2.5 stars. The writing wasn't great. The dialogue was really cringy. Everything felt forced. I didn't like any of the characters. The whole premise was that there's this demon that's been bound to this family's house by the family members, and they've just taken care of this hacienda. So this is set in the Philippines, which was cool, their whole lives. And then one day, this girl's, her name is Sadie, people call her Sarah, the demon calls her Solita. Both her parents are dead, and then she ends up inadvertently waking up the demon, unbinding his curse that had placed him in this house for like 600 years. The world building was real poor. Like, I still don't even understand why he was one that was cursed there when his like brothers and father were worse demons. Like, he feeds on sorrow, so she just has to be sad, suffering, and he like eats her tears and he's fed. And I'm like, okay. There was just, I don't know, it didn't make any sense. She had a really shitty boyfriend that she didn't like, and then a shittier friend. and just nothing about it was good. Just nothing. I just didn't enjoy it. The cover was great. The cover is great. Maybe the setting, you know, the location is kind of cool, but it was a letdown. It was just the way it ended. I'm like, I don't understand the point of any of this. I guess you're supposed to see character growth, but So, unfortunately, not a good read, which is a bummer. Because look, I've had a few really great ones. I think the highest rating book for me so far this read was the 4.25 with lessons in chemistry. So we'll see how we go next. I'm going to be picking up this one, physical copy. So this is Everything All at Once, fiction and poetry from 30 of Australia's best writers under 30. So we'll see how we go. This is not normally my genre, and I'm probably thinking, Chanel, pick up a fantasy book. You know you'll probably enjoy it. I will after this one, because I don't think I'm going to take 5 hours to read this. Hello. So I just finished reading Everything All at Once. I'll show you how it's structured. So the start of the book will have the title with the author and about the author, a little biography. And the first book of it, this is what it looks like, the short stories. The first half is short stories, and then the second half is poetry. This has a lot of POC and queer rep with all of the authors and the subject matter of most of the work, so that was cool. The short stories was varied. So there was like one about a woman who was on Bumble and has a one-night stand, and the guy ends up choking her out, but then she regains consciousness and she gets to leave, and then she deletes all of her dating apps. And then another one about a sapphic couple, one of whom is a deep sea freediver, but also takes photographs of people naked in pools as part of their job. They were just all varied. They were okay. I really like the poetry in this one. So I definitely preferred the poetry over the stories. So I would say my collective average rating for this book would be a 3.25. Just a lot of the short stories didn't really pack any punch for me. I have to have short stories be really shocking and powerful, I guess, for me to really like them. Otherwise it's like, okay, and like not enough happened for me to find it interesting, or for me to say remember it down the track. So, but because I like the poetry so much, it's about a 3.25. So I believe I have 4 more hours to go. I'm about 20 hours in. This took me a long time to read too. I didn't like the format. So this is almost like a square, but not quite like a square. So holding it like this was awkward. I don't know. I didn't like the physical experience of reading this shape book. I will touch base with you when I probably finish reading whatever book I pick up next, and that will be tomorrow because I'll probably read it in bed today. I'm actually feeling quite sleepy and I have a bit of a headache, and I think I'm just going to go and take a nap. It is really sunny and lovely today. I had a little walk outside before. Hello, Bluebell. I'll show you what she's doing in a second. I'm not used to the sun. We've had so much winter. I was actually quite hot, but I like it. I like it a lot. So I'll see you tomorrow. Okay guys, so I have completed my 24-hour challenge. The other books that I've read during this challenge were A Skinful of Shadows. I absolutely love the cover. It's very autumnal. So this book, I liked the writing. This book was about a 12-year-old named Makepeace who is with her mother, and she ends up going to her biological father's family, and they are not what they seem. They're not good people. So the magic sort of in this world is that there's ghosts, and Makepeace is one of these people with the ability to house ghosts inside their body. However, if you put too many ghosts in your body, you lose yourself. And her family are in this business, and I don't want to say more without spoiling it. Don't read this for romance. There's no romance in this. So there is a finding yourself aspect, coming into your own, standing up for yourself, doing what you believe is right, despite the fact it might be going against your family or others. And how did I feel about it? I think I gave it 3.5 stars. Can't remember. Whatever pictures on here, that's what I actually gave it. I liked the writing. I liked Makepeace's character. I loved Bear. Oh, this book pretty much is Bear. All of the ratings are pretty much for Bear, okay? Let's be real. However, I did find it quite slow and it was a little bit confusing. There's also choices that Makepeace made that I'm like, why would you do that? Or why would you allow that to happen? Why would you make that choice? There are better things that you could have chosen. So I didn't love everything about it, but yeah, it was a fine read at 3.5 stars. And then the last book that I read, I ended up tacking on another 2 hours. I feel like this is slanted. It is, isn't it? Is that better? Is that actually straight? I'm not very good with levels of things. I ended up reading for an additional 2. So this was like a 26-hour readathon, really, because I had to finish it. I had to stay up and finish it. And this is The Fall of Wrath and Ruin. I think that's what it's called. Dudes. Okay, so I've given it 4.5 stars. I think that's what I ended up settling on because it was just a fun time. This is a purely for enjoyment book. This is smut-tastic. It's fantasy, spicy, romance. Let's be real, the plot is like a secondary factor in this book. It's about the chemistry between these two characters. So in this world, you have Callista, and she has this ability to sort of almost be a seeress. She can see the future. She has heightened intuition of, you know, things that are going to happen before they're going to happen. And she gets it mostly from touching people. There are lots of different beings in this world, one of whom are the highest beings. They're almost like, I would call them like fallen angels, pretty much. They're not human. They are like eternal, immortal beings. They can die though. They can be killed by their own kind and by certain objects and poisons, but they rule this world. So they're the rulers, and the humans, you know, don't really like that. They sort of, they don't really have a moral compass, so to speak. There's not a lot of compassion from them. They kind of just do whatever they want. They're almost fae-like in that quality. But anyway, she ends up meeting one of them and sort of a romance ensues. She works for this like baron. Everyone in this world is pretty much bi and polyamorous. Like in the beginning of this book, they're all just playing with each other. But I have a feeling that once her and this guy like really cement their relationship, it's going to be a you're mine, I'm yours situation. You know, I'm getting that vibe already starting to happen. Look, normally I don't enjoy such debaucherous, open, relationship-y kind of books, especially too when she allows herself to sort of be used as a courtesan, you know, like she allows her body to be used in order to get information from people. And normally I don't like that kind of stuff, but I don't know. I guess I was just in the mood to be entertained with some ridiculous, over-the-top sexual behavior. You know, look, it's not the most debaucherous thing I've read. There is no triple penetration scene. You know what I mean? Like it's not, it's tame in that respect. There's just a lot of sex. That's all it is. It's just a lot of, you know, sort of regular kind of sex, a bit of voyeuristic sex too. So having, you know, mass orgies in a room, that kind of thing, as you do on a Wednesday afternoon. Yeah, I did enjoy it. You know, the plot, there's enough of it there, enough of intrigue, enough of curiosity of what these beings are, how this is going to play out for me to continue with the series. You know, like, but this is just a good time book. Like, it is what it is. But I gave it 4.5 stars. But that's also, I think, too, because it's written on the back of some a bit mediocre kind of books. But that was the whole 24-hour readathon. Yeah, this month is going to be the biggest month of reading that I've ever had in my life. And to be honest, I'm getting a bit burnt out on stories. There's only stories I can hold at one time. So I think I have been putting too much of my attention into my hobby of reading, and I need to spread it. I need to spread it around to my other hobbies because I'm burning myself out and I don't want to hit a point where I actually can't read for like weeks on end. So that's everything for this vlog. Until next time, stay wild, Star Child.